Jai Hind students. Today we'll be discussing about project management and entrepreneurship. So the contents that I'll be covering today is project life cycle. Then I'll tell you about life cycle path. What is the feasibility report? What actually does feasibility, what role actually this feasibility plays in any type of project? What is project appraisal? And lastly, I'll be talking about the types of project appraisal. Now, what is project life cycle? See, it is very easy to understand that each and every project from conception to completion passes through number of phases. That means, in a very simple words, we can say that it is not like a single phase through which we can say that your project is going to complete. It is something which basically comprises of different phases, right? There are different type of phases in the like any life cycle of a particular type of project. Now, again, if we talk about the number of particular phases in any project, there is no universal consensus on the number of phases. That means it is not mandatory that each and every project that we are going to deal with will be having the same number of phases. So that means there is no universal consensus regarding the same. Now, an understanding of the life cycle again is very important to the successful completion of the project. That means it is very important that if we want to successfully complete the particular project, we should better understand the life cycle of that particular project. Why is it necessary? Because it is going to facilitate so that we will be able to understand the proper sequencing, right? How the different sequence, how the events are basically taking in the particular sequence in the completion of a particular type of project. It is something which basically starts when we are going to start a particular type of project, and it will let you know about the progress of the particular project till the time the project gets completed. Now, if we talk about a particular type of project, typically any project consists of these 4 phases. But again, as I told you that there is no universal law which is going to make sure that these will only be the phases that we are going to comply with. First is the conceptualization, then comes is the planning, execution, and again last is the termination of a particular type of project. Now, each phase is marked by one or more deliverables such as concept node, then again the feasibility report will be generated. What is the implementation plan, how we are going to implement a particular type of project, again HRD plan, any type of allocation of a particular type of resource, and lastly the evaluation report will be created. Now, I will be covering these particular phases one by one. Now, you can see this is basically the diagram of a project life cycle, right? The very first phase is the project initiation. What actually is done in this particular phase, the proper definition, the project definition is basically given. So that will be make sure we'll be able to understand the basic concepts, the basic need for making that particular type of project. Then second come is the planning, which again is a very important phase, right? Until and unless we have made a proper type of planning, it is very difficult to make sure that we will be able to complete the project. So second comes is the planning of the particular type of project. In this, actually the detailed planning is basically done. The detailed planning of the particular project is done in the second phase. Then comes is the execution. After planning, the execution of the project will be done. In this, basically the controlling, the monitoring of the particular project will be done. Then last comes is the termination or project closeout, right? So what actually is done in this particular phase? The post implementation and the review is basically done after the termination phase. And you can see there is the project communication, which again plays a very important role in all these different phases. Now, let's understand them in a quite brief and one by one. First is conceptualization phase. Starting with the seed of idea, it is something which is going to cover the identification of the product, right? So it will make sure it is going to identify the particular type of product or the service, the feasibility studies, appraisal, and again the different type of approval that need to be done. Then the project idea is conceptualized with initially considering all the possible alternatives, right? It is very, very important to understand that if you are talking about the idea of the particular project, it is something based on which we'll be able to consider the different type of alternatives which is actually possible, so that we'll be able to achieve the project objective in defined time in a well manner. Then comes that as the idea becomes established, a proposal is developed, right? That means out of those different type of alternatives, a proper alternative is basically selected based on which the rational or the further processing will takes place, right? The different costs, estimated costs need to be done, the benefits need to be done, other details for the appraisal of the stakeholders again need to be done. Then we can say that after reaching a broad consensus of the proposal, the feasibility dimensions are basically analyzed in details. It is very, very important term. What is feasibility? Whatever project we are going to deal with, just make sure that the project is basically feasible. Until and unless the project is feasible, I don't think so that it is worth that you are going to involve like lot of money, manpower, everything is basically involved in the completion of a particular project. So make sure that the particular project is basically feasible in nature. Second phase, as I told you, an important phase, which is the planning phase. Conceptualization has been done. After that, proper planning of the project need to be done. Now, in this phase, the project structure is basically planned. The complete structure of the particular project is basically designed on the appraisal and against the approval that has already been done in the previous phase. Detailed plans for activities, the finance, the resources, they are again developed, they are integrated according to the quality parameter. That means we are not going to compromise with the quality of the particular project. In the process, major tasks need to be performed in this phases are. So what are the different type of phases? What are the different type of tasks that need to be completed in this particular planning phase is? First is this identification of activities and their sequencing. That means if there are a number of different type of activities, proper sequencing of the activities again need to be done. Second comes is the time frame. How much time is basically required for the completion of a particular type of activity, right? What is the time frame for the execution of any type of activity? Then comes is the estimation and the budgeting, right? How much will be the total cost which will actually be required for the completion of that particular phase? What is the total budget? How much time it is going to require? And again, next is the staffing. That means how many number of people, how many number of persons are basically required for the completion of that particular type of task. So these are the different type of tasks which are basically performed in this particular phase. Then a detailed project report specifying various aspects of the project again is finalized so that we can facilitate the execution of the phase. Third comes is the execution, right? After conceptualization, we have done the proper planning. Then comes is the execution phase of the project. Now, this particular phase of the project is going to witness the concentrated activity where the plans are put into the operation. Till now, what actually has been done, proper planning had been done, but now it is the important time that we need to make sure that those proper type of plan activities has been properly put into the operational use, or we are having any sort of issue regarding that. So, they need to be properly executed. That is what we are going to do in the execution phase. Now, each activity again is monitored, controlled and coordinated to achieve project objectives. Each and every particular activity need to be properly monitored, they need to be properly controlled, they need to be properly coordinated so that we will be able to achieve the proper objective of the project. Now, there are different type of activities in this particular phase. What are these different activities? Communication, of course, with the stakeholders is a very important type of activity that need to be done. Then again, the reviewing process, proper review need to be done in the proper manner. Monitoring cost, how much cost will actually be involved, that is again a very important task. How much time, as I told you, that again plays an important role for the completion of any particular activity of the project. What is the type of quality that we will be able to achieve, that is also important. And again, if there is any particular type of changes which is occurring, how you will be able to manage those type of changes. So, it is important that proper configuration management need to be done, right? Proper configuration management need to be done, proper maintenance of the changes, if any, need to be properly incorporated. Then next or last phase is basically called as the termination phase. What we actually do in the termination phase, this phase basically marks the completion. It is basically the time that we are going to talk about the completion or the project is going to terminate, right? Where the deliverables are basically installed and the project is put into operation. That means it is a time when we are actually going to put the particular project into the operation, when we are going to arrange for any type of follow-up actions, any type of evaluation if it is required in the further way. So this is these are basically the different type of phases through which any or the project actually moves on throughout the complete life cycle. Now, if we talk about the particular path of the life cycle, it basically starts from completion and follows. There are basically two different shapes which are generally followed, the S-shaped and the J-shaped. Alright, what are these shapes actually? In S-shape, the progress is slow at the starting, right? That means when we are going to start a particular project, the progress is basically slow during the starting phase and again at the terminal phase. And when we talk about the implementation, the progress is quite fast. Slow at the starting, slow at the terminal and quite fast at the implementation phase. And this particular phase is what is called as a S-shape, right? That means, for example, if we take implementation of any watershed project, at the beginning, detailed sectoral planning and coordination among different agencies makes project slow or the progress of that particular slow. So this is basically the example of the S-shape. And similarly, when we are going to terminate this project, again we are going to create institutional arrangement for transfer and maintenance to the stakeholders progressively slow. That means during the starting and during the ending, this time and this time the progress is slow, but when we talk about this particular time, the progress is quite fast, right? This is basically shown with this particular figure. You can say there is a slow start, there is a slow finish, but momentum is quite high or there is quick momentum. The progress is quite fast during the middle phase. So this is basically called as a S-shape. Now, second, as I told you, is the J type. The progress in beginning is slow, right? In the J shape, what actually happens, the progress in the starting is slow, and as time moves, the progress improves at a fast rate. That means as time is increasing, the progress is also increasing, but at the starting time, the progress is quite slow. So example you can take as that it is developing an energy plantation. In this we can say that again the preparation progresses, when we are talking about the preparation of the land and all, this is quite slow, and as soon as the land and the seeding and transportation is undertaken. So that means once during the starting or at the beginning, the progress is slow, and as and when the time passes, the progress becomes quite fast. This is what is called as a J shape. This particular figure elaborates the same. This is the slow progress, and according to the increasing in the time, right, the progress is fast. This is what is called as a J shape. Now, if we talk about feasibility, this is very, very important, and again the proper report need to be generated based on the feasibility of the particular type of project. Now, what is this project feasibility report? Prior to any commencement, conducting a feasibility is paramount. It is very, very important, right? When we are going to deal with any particular type of project, it is must that you need to conduct a proper type of feasibility report before making any particular type of project. Now, during the analysis, again, a detailed study is conducting for the evaluating the particular project feasibility. From that means from different type of angles, we are very much interested in talking about the feasibility. Is this particular project feasible according to the technicalities? Is it feasible according to the economies or the amount of money that an individual is having? Political feasibility need to be properly checked. Ecological feasibility need to be checked. Environmental feasibility. So there are different type of angles from which we are going to check or deal with the feasibility of the particular type of project. So it is something that need to be done well prior in advance, so that if the report is okay and if you make sure that this particular project is feasible, of course we will be making the same. Then again, robust figures achieved in this various analysis justify that this report need to be initiative at the project, which itself is the key of building details. So that means a proper detailed project again need to be made based on which proper aspects of the risk, the different type of weaknesses, mitigations again need to be taken care of. Now, this is basically the documented output of these studies, which summarizes to establish whether the project is technically or economically feasible, right? So, what is this feasibility report? This will make sure that, different studies regarding the feasibilities has been properly conducted. And now we are actually okay that the project that we are going to deal with is okay with these type of feasibility. It could be conducted by an investment company, focuses on the demand product, so this is something which is going to vary depending on the type of project that you are actually going to deal with, and what all are the type of different feasibility aspects that need to be properly created, that need to be properly generated. Now, this report also highlights the risk involves and offers a fair comparison between suitable type of investment. If you are talking about the feasibility, right, this will also highlight if there is any particular type of risk which is associated with any particular type of project that we are going to deal with. So, that is quite important. Now, a feasibility report quickens the process of obtaining consensus from again stakeholders point of view, speed of negotiation with this. So, that means it is important that a proper report need to be created well in advance, and once it is okay, once it is done, then we are going to actually deal with the particular making of the project. Now, this study offers opportunity so that a proper corrective measures prior to any financial resource or the time commitment need to be made. So, that is quite must. Now, the next topic that I am going to cover is the appraisal, the project appraisal. What is this? This is basically the process of critical examination and analysis of the proposal. That means what is basically the proposal about, what is the analysis of the proposal, and that need to be done in totality. That means project need to be properly appraised of in the any type of examination when we are going to examine any particular type of project. This goes beyond the analysis which is presented in the feasibility reports, right? Before this, we already have the feasibility in our hand. But when we talk about this appraisal, this is something which goes beyond the analysis which is actually presented in the feasibility report, right? Whatever feasibility we are actually deal with. Now, at this stage, if required, compilation of additional information and further analysis of the project dimensions against are properly undertaken, right? Any type of analysis of the project, any type of further additional information if required, they need to be properly done in this project appraisal. And at the end, as appraisal note is prepared for facilitating on the project implementation. That means after that, the proper implementation need to be done. Right, again, there are different type of project appraisals that we'll be going to deal with. There is technical appraisal, there is social appraisal, legal appraisal, commercial appraisal, institutional appraisal, financial appraisal, and economical appraisal. So, these are different types of project appraisal. What is technical appraisal? It determines whether the technical parameters are soundly conceived, realistic, and technically feasible, right? It is very much clear from the word itself only, technicalities, right? We'll be actually dealing with the technical parameters, and we need to make sure that the technical parameters that we are going to deal with, they are conceived, they are realistic, and again they are properly feasible, right? That is what is called as technical appraisal. Technical feasibility analysis is the systematic gathering and analysis of the data which is pertaining to technical type. What is the type of technicality that we will be dealing with? So, this is something which is going to deal with the type of technical feasibility of the particular project. What is the availability of the raw material? What is the availability of the equipments, any type of hardware, any type of software, any type of transportation facility, right? All these need to be properly made sure, depending on what the project are and what are they coming under what type of technical analysis. So, this is something which is definitely going to, vary depending on the type of project that we are going to deal with. And again, based on that, under what type of technical analysis these projects are basically coming under, they need to be properly taken care of. The feasibility analysis is important since it is going to significance lies in planning the exercises documentation process, right? As I told you earlier also, this is very, very important because once this is properly done, we can be very much sure that it is going to signify that all the exercises, all the documentation, all type of risk if there is, they need to be properly done well in advance. Then comes is the financial appraisal to determine whether the financial cost and returns, they are properly estimated and whether the project is financially viable, right? So if and only if the project is financially, like proper feasibility regarding the finance has been properly checked, definitely it will give you a proper type of output out of it. So this will make sure that the costs, the returns, they are properly estimated based on which the financial appraisal has been done. Then comes is the institutional appraisal to determine whether the implementing agencies to identified in the report, they are capable for effective implementation, for monitoring and again evaluation of the particular type of scheme, right? There are different type of schemes under which schemes this particular, the project is actually going to deal with, that need to be done. Managerial competence, again the integrity, the knowledge of the project. Promoters should have the knowledge of ability to plan, implementation and operate the entire project. Effect. It is very, very important that proper competence need to be there, right? What is the knowledge regarding the particular project an individual is having, that is also must. Who are the promoters? The promoters again should have the complete knowledge. They should have the ability so that they'll be able to make proper type of plan. Then only they'll be able to implement, then only they'll be able to operate the entire project in the proper way. Until and unless one is, not having the proper knowledge regarding that, it is again quite difficult for an individual to manage the project in the proper way. Again, the past record of the promoter is to be approached to clarify the ability again in the handling of the particular project. Then comes is the commercial appraisal, the demand and scope of the project among the beneficiaries, customers, friendly process and preferences, future demand of the supply, effectively of the selling arrangement, latest information availabilities on all areas, government control measures, that is again must. So it is must that you need to make sure what is the effectiveness of selling, what is the arrangement of selling if you need to sell any particular product, what is the latest information which is available to us in this particular type of area, in the particular type of government, if government is going to control any sort of measure. The appraisal involves the assessment of the current demand, right? What is the current demand of any particular type of project in market? What is the demand? Who all are the suppliers? Who all are the stakeholders? That need to be properly make sure, which simply is going to enable the project so that according to the demand, the proper supply need to be done. Again, estimation, distribution and advertisement scenarios also here need to be properly considered, right? What will the total cost in the completion of the project? Where will the project actually will be distributed? What are the scenarios that has actually been taken care of when we are talking about in the terms of advertisement? So proper scenarios need to be properly created. Then again comes is the environmental appraisal to see any detrimental environment impacts and how to minimize the impact. So like there, as it is something, as I told you, which is something which is going to vary depending on the type of project that we are going to deal with. Is there any project based on which we can say that environment is having some type of drastic impacts, right? So if you're talking about environmental appraisal, we need to see that any type of detrimental environment impact, and if there is any, how we'll be able to minimize those type of impacts. Again, environmental appraisal concerns with the impact of environment on the project, right? What is the impact of environment on the project? Like there are so many industries which may the environment is having that type of impact which is going to having the type of worst impact, so that need to be properly done. Then again the factors which include again the water, the air, the land, sound and again the geographical location. So what is the impact of environment on the particular type of project, that need to be properly taken care. Then comes is the economic appraisal, how far the project contributes to the development of the sector, right? When this project is going to be launched in the market, how it is going to develop that particular type of sector, how it is going to develop that particular type of industry, how it is going to how it is going to work in term of social development, how the growth will be maximized, how the employment will be maximized. All these need to be properly taken care of, and they are again then kept in view while evaluating the economic feasibility of the project. So there are again different type of factors which basically comes under this economic type of appraisal, right? Maximizing the growth, the industrial development, the social development and so on. Now legal appraisal to determine whether the project satisfies the legal issues, right? There should not be any type of legal issues that we need to encounter, due to the, when we are going to incorporate that particular type of project in the real life. To make sure, just go for the legal appraisal that is going to satisfy the issues related to any type of land acquisition, the title deed, any type of environmental clearance, then again the list is endless. Then market appraisal, focusing on demands, projections, adequacy of marketing infrastructure, and again competence of the key marketing person. It is very, very important that, as I told you, demand and supply. What is actually the demand and what is the supplies that need to be properly taken care of well in advance. According to the demand, the particular product need to be supplied of, right? Say there is a, like we say that there is a demand of any particular project in the market. But if we talk about supply, the supply is nil. So, of course, there will be different type of issues which will be created in the market. So, again, focusing on the demand, that is must. From where we will be getting those type of supplies so that we will be able to satisfy that particular demand again is a must, based on which the scenarios actually work. Managerial appraisal focuses on promoters, organizational structures, managerials, again personals, and there are different type of like management, HR management need to be properly taken care of. Market appraisal, demand analysis. As I told you, demand is something which plays a very, very important role. What is the demand, based on which what is the type of parameters in terms of supply we are having, they need to be properly taken care of, and in case there is any type of gap, that gap need to be properly filled, right? So, that's based on the type of demand, the products is basically supplied in the market. Like these are the different references, students. Thank you. Thank you so much.